Hello everyone, and welcome to this short video tutorial about how to use Tabletop Simulator, specifically with an eye towards playing Kriegsspiel games. Reason I'm making this video is we recently launched a new game, the IKS game for newcomers, and being as all the players in there are new, some of them were asking for a tutorial on how to use Tabletop Simulators. They've not used it before, so I've created some videos before with tabletop, but not like a beginner thing. So we'll cover that today. So to start off with, and usually there's a module that you're going to have or access. So if someone has shared a link with you like this, you'll click on that link. It'll open up a website browser and look something like this. And then you should be able to hit subscribe, and if you're already logged into Steam with that browser, it'll just automatically subscribe. If not, you may have to log in. But once you're subscribed, then Tabletop Simulator will know that. And so then you can, I guess from Steam, you should have, this is assuming you've already purchased Tabletop Simulator, it should be in your library, so you can just click Start to run it. And then once you get into it, you'll get a starting page or a starting screen like this. And so when you want to start a new, I don't know, game or page or map, you'll go to Create. Now, if you're joining a game that someone else is hosting, like a live game, you'd click on Multiplayer and then search the server name. That's if you're hosting. If you want to join a game, you just click Join. Actually, let me click on that just to show real fast. So yeah, you type in the game name and then it would pop up and you'd go into it. That's just to join a multiplayer game. If you want to host a multiplayer game, you push that button. And if it's just you and yourself, then you'll click on this. So we'll do single player. And then, so if you subscribe to whatever thing you're trying to get into, then here under workshop, it should be here towards the front. So this is the multiplayer map, which I will load. And it takes you to this page where you can see the map. So some basic navigation, you can use WASD to move around the map. So W moves you up, S moves you down, A left, D right, just like most computer games. And then if you right click and hold and then move your mouse around, you can change your point of view. So if you want, so you can rotate around or do all sorts of things. You can also use your mouse scroll wheel to zoom in and zoom out. So between all that, you can zip around the table and look in all directions. Something else that I recently learned, this is more useful for when you're umpiring, but if you hit P, you can lock in different view types. So that was third person, now it's in first person. So it's where I am in space is locked, and if I hold down the mouse, it makes it easy to pivot and look around. And you can still actually move a little bit, although it's slower. So it's kind of like you're, I don't know, flying or something. But and you hit P again, it's a top-down view, so you're locked. You can't change your angle of view. It's always top-down, and then P again is third person, which is what I normally am in. So that's for viewing. In terms of interacting with the thing, so in Kriegsspiel we'll often have units like these, and so you just hover over and left click with your mouse, and you can pick it up, move it around, and when you let go of the mouse, it'll let go of the unit and leave it there. So you can move them around like it's a real table. And then if you want to rotate the thing that you're holding, you can hit Q or E, and that will rotate it around, which is very useful. You can also hit F, and that'll flip it over. Hit F and do it again. You can, if you want to change how high it lifts when you lift it, there's this lift height option here. So if I do that, now it lifts it up higher. Sometimes it's useful to toggle depending on what you're doing. You can also change how how many degrees it rotates. Normally it should be 15. Oh, sorry, not that. So you can see here, every time I hit Q, now it's going 60 degrees at a time. So it's a bit faster, but you have less control over exactly where it's looking. So I usually have it at 15 at all the time, so I can fine tune where it's looking. Um, let's see. You can, if you hover over something and hit Control C and then Control V, you just copy it over and over. So I'm just hitting Control V a whole bunch and recreating it all over. Wherever your mouse cursor is, that's where it's going to pop up. So that's useful to know. There's a lot of tricky things from an umpiring and table building perspective. I won't get into all that. Some other things you can do, you can change the size. So again, if you hover over it, and it might, sometimes the button difference changes, but the plus or minus button, if I hold down plus, I can just make something bigger, or minus, I can make it smaller. That's useful. Let's see, what else is helpful. Once you're in a map, if you want to save it, then you will click Games, Save and Load, and then you'll want to, you can create folders and put in a folder, but basically you'll hit Save Game and then give it a name and save, and that'll save it. If you, so there's already some built-in objects that you can add, and you can add custom ones too. Where's the custom? Sorry. Like you can add in custom tiles and tokens and boards and whatnot. But you can also have saved objects. So if you find modules that you like, for example, all of Damon's Napoleonic pieces, you can select them all, right-click, and save object, and give it a name. And then that'll stay in your saved object folder. So if you're in a different map, or if you want it again, you can go to saved objects, and you can just find the units that you had saved and drag it and pull it out, and then it'll populate it. That's very useful. Oh yeah, I forgot. I was doing a thing that I forgot. So if you want to select multiple units, this is very helpful. You can just click and drag, and it'll select all of them, and then you can move them all at once and rotate them all at once, or flip them. So that's very helpful when trying to move lots of pieces. All right, let's keep going through the top. So objects we talked about, saving and putting objects in. Music I've never messed with, but there's that option. Notebook either. Options. This is more for umpires, but you can change the lighting, which is cool and helpful. There's a lot of options in here on that. You can also, this one's helpful. I always expand the play area to 1 now, because when it starts at 5, and for our giant tables in Kriegsspiel, it can actually be pretty limiting. So I always expand that up to 1. So you got the maximum amount of room on the table. One thing, so a lot of times we use a flex table, which has a little white button here, and you can change the width and height or depth of that table. That's helpful when you're making a new thing. Another thing that's useful, you can lock pieces in place. So if you want to, like right now, I can't select the map, you'll notice, but it is an object, and the reason is it's locked. So if you select an object, you put it somewhere, and you hover over it and hold down L, now it's locked, so I can't select that. It's still there, but now if I try to grab both pieces, I just grab the one. So that's helpful for something you don't want to have to interact with, and then you can unlock it just by hovering over again, holding down L, and now it's back. Let's see. Very well. Okay, this is helpful. Sorry, I'll keep going along the top, and then we'll go to the left side. So modding, if you want to share your map with someone else, you can upload your own workshop. So you do need some kind of thumbnail or some screenshot that you can attach to it. But if it's a new workshop, you give it a name, and you have to give it a thumbnail, some kind of picture, and then you hit upload. And then you'll need to go into Steam, your tabletop page and workshop, and you go into your workshop files, and then whatever you just saved should be there. If you go into it, I think the starting visibility is hidden or unlisted. I think it's hidden, so it starts off that nobody can see it. And if you want everyone in the world to see it, you can just change it to public. But if you want it to be shareable but not visible to the public, change it to unlisted, and then you can click share and get the link to share that file with others. That's if you have your own module. And then once you have the module created, you can just update that same workshop. You just click on here. If you know the number, you can type in the number, or you can click on that and search past recent workshops, and just click the one that it was to update it. And that's pretty easy. Flipping, that flips the entire table. So don't do that unless you want everything to go everywhere. It's kind of crazy. And then menus, just navigating around. On the left side, if you want to draw, you can pick a color and then pick a pen, and you can change the size with plus or minus, and then you can draw. And you can see this one's a little bit opaque, so you can kind of see through it. And then you can get rid of it two ways. You can erase over it, or you can hit the trash can and do erase all lines. Sometimes when you draw, the eraser doesn't work when you try and click on it. Usually I click on the outside and then I drag it through and it finds the thing, so it gets rid of it. There's some zone stuff which I won't go into. You can mess with the grid. So you can make it so you can see a grid, although it might not on this map. Let me see. Oh, so if you click this, this will change what the grid's based off of. And then if you go into options and grid, you can change your grid size and also have it show. It depends on where the map is. It might not work for this one, but you can change the grid type to hex or box, and if it shows and what color it is and how opaque it is and how thick it is. So if you want to have a map or a grid on your map for some reason, you can do that. But I always play with the grid size. I try to make it so one grid is 1 mile usually. And so if I hold down tab and drag, it does my ruler for me. So right now that's 8 grid spaces, and I'd rather that be 10. So I think that's the right direction. No, wrong direction. So I'm gonna adjust that. That's close. You get the idea. That's close enough. So that's 10 grid spaces. So now when I'm measuring distance on the table, I just hold down tab and I say, okay, that's about 1 mile, and yeah, that's how I do measurements. You can flick stuff. You can combine stuff. This is more for like 3D, cool looking stuff. But there's all sorts of things you can do. If you you can hit attach and combine these two things. So now they're like one object. So when you select it, it's just one. And you can do cool things with that. Delete that. You can write text. I've not used this much, and I found it to be wonky, but you can type text in, and it'll be on there. It's a little bit hard to. I've never gotten used to. See, once I type it, I don't know how to mess with it anymore, except to delete it all entirely. But that's why I've not messed with it. And then the gizmo tool is useful because you can change the size, shape, and orientation of something. Especially useful if something's locked in space. But as an example, we'll lock this in here. So if you do the transform tool, that's its position in space, its current rotation, and its scale. So I could change its scale from, let's say X, I want it doubled for some reason. So now it's twice as wide. And let's say I want it higher in the air for some reason. I've got it locked, so there you go. So now it's at the Y point in here of 20. So it's hovering in the air. If I wanted to move it further left, I could go down on the x-axis. And then if I wanted to rotate it, I could do something like that for some reason. So there's all sorts of fun things you can do. If it's a locked object, it'll stay there after you've done stuff. If I didn't have it locked, once I let go of it, it would just drop back to where it was on the table. There's a decal thing I've never used and a point thing I've never used. There's a lot of things you can use, but this is just basics. And that's, I think, about it for how to move around on Tabletop Simulator. Get things through. If you do ever mess something up, there is a rewind button, which is helpful. I've had to use that before. And also, if you forget to, like if it freezes and you forget to save, it does auto-save pretty well. And so even if you haven't saved in a long time, you can usually get an auto-save and get close to the last thing you did, which is helpful. I think that's it. Hopefully this is useful. If you have any questions, type them in the comments on YouTube. I'll try to answer them. And thanks everyone. Appreciate it.